today is going to be kind of just a more relaxed, free flowing conversation about students that have impacted y'all's lives or careers or perspectives or whatever it might be. Obviously, my dad has had a long career with a lot of different students, and some
Really?
crazy stories that I've heard growing up from him. But yeah, we just kind of wanted to open that up to hear from you all and hopefully share some positive stories or things that are interesting with each other. So I hope you've been thinking on it over this, you know, past week or however long, and come up with some names. But yeah, Dad, I guess if you want to kind of kick it off
Well, yeah, we can
with
teach
one of
it.
your own
What I
ones.
really like is we can teach each other through these, and even the videos. One of the real important things is we're not their friends. And I had a lot of student interns, and man, the fatal mistake in an intern was when you tried to be on the same level as they. So I've had very close relationships with a lot of really neat kids, but there's always been professional distance. And it mattered most in my life when there was a bus crash and three of my children got killed. And I was identifying them for the coroner moments after their death. And it's times like that that you realize that, that was not my child. That was not my Patty. I had a little girl at the time. She was a little girl at the time of that crash. But there's a professional distance, and that gave me the ability to carry those students who who their buddies had been killed through that, as well as speak to others around. So professional distance, as close as we get to our kids, and these forums, being teaching forums, I just want to share that importance of professional distance. In all the kids that I taught before I was forced into administration, and I was forced into it. Uh, they gave me a deal I couldn't refuse, and it wasn't monetary. My last year, I taught Tony A. Tony had been incredibly abused. That was my field. Children abused at 2 and 3, kind of. Not everybody, oh, that should be rewarding. Yeah, it's really rewarding, let me tell you. It's a calling. It wasn't a reward. It wasn't rewarding at all. It was awful. But it was my calling. I was good at it. But Tony came to me as a 6th grader. He was living in a group home. He had been removed from his parents, if you want to call them that word, for all the horrors that little boy had been through. When he reached us as a 6th grader, he's a puny little underfed blonde boy who would, at any hint of failure or something's wrong, go suicidal on you. I mean, and not in loud outbursts. It was just an implosion that you could watch. That's Tony as a 6th grader. Very difficult to teach a boy how to read, who if you make an error, he wants to die. But through love shaping behavior, when Tony was an 8th grader and getting ready to leave me, he could read on level. He could add, subtract, multiply, and divide. He could do decimals, percentages, all the above. He knew all his 50 states and capitals. And he was an exemplary student. And teachers give end of the year awards. And being in behavior, I'd learned very clearly you don't want to give an award in front of the entire school when the whole school knows what you teach, because many of the kids would hear, and the biggest dummy in the entire school, yeah, he's special ed. Yeah, let's have a big hand for Tony. Well, many of those kids would feel like getting an award from me would be very, very, very punishing. So I asked Tony, Tony, you've won it. I mean, you're my man. And, I would you like me to give you the award during the assembly, or can it be just you and I'll go to the group home and let your group parents and all the guys there know just how good you are. And he said he wanted his reward in front of everybody. And so when I called the name of Tony just took every step like it mattered. It was just so blasted cool. and Tony got his award. To take Tony's story further, Tony, and this is what we can be a little part of changing. Tony, when he became 16, couldn't get a driver's license or anything in a group home because they couldn't afford insurance. Well, Tony had since joined the football team. Well, I told you he's a puny little blonde guy, so there's not a whole lot he can do on a Southern football team. But he made the team. The coaches loved him. But he basically become a water boy, wanting to be a water boy, being the best water boy on the face of the planet. Tony was adopted by a coach to so he could have his driver's license and live a normal teenage life. Isn't that just a wonderful story when we can watch one of our kids come to us completely a disaster? Neat thing in my life about Tony, invariably, every kid I ever taught that had been severely abused at 1 and 2, I don't know and don't think I made much of a difference at all. I mean, the dysfunction and the horror of being so abused was so permanent and so devastating. I lost them all. My last years of teaching, I didn't lose Tony. And so I got shown, wow. So that's the story of Tony that really gives you faith. And you don't know what's going to happen with what you do when it all starts. You just don't know. The kid that looks completely and utterly hopeless is the kid that you remember 25 years later, or longer maybe. Oh, getting scary. But that's my story of Tony. Miracle story, Tony. We used to have a contest at the end. We gave points, our little tickets for anybody who's done anything. Every teacher could give out 10 tickets a week or whatever. So they take their tickets to a carnival and can do stuff, that we held. Well, we had to throw the ping pong ball in a wine carafe and get $100. Man, kids would use up their tickets trying to do that. Tony used up one ticket and threw it right in. And you have no clue how hard that is to throw a ping pong ball at 10 paces into a wine carafe. It's like impossible. Tony's shot went straight in, and the whole world was happy for Tony, and of course I had to go explain to the group home, what's Tony doing with a $100 bill? Because most kids in a group home with a $100 bill got it through nefarious means. So there's my story of Tony, just a wonderful, wonderful kid, and I bet he's a wonderful man.
Yeah, that's a tough one to follow. I'd ask, I guess, as a follow-up question for myself, what, given that was at the end or towards the end of your career, and you had felt maybe up until that point kind of that many of your students that were so troubled and in such tough environments and had such troubling experiences happen to them, weren't necessarily saved. Like, how do you feel that shifted your own kind of outlook on things after maybe, even with the professional distance? I'm sure it kind of.
It's when they moved me from behavior disorders to learning disabilities, I don't know how to explain, for all I know, I'm Asperger's or something emotionally. I don't know how to explain how I was good with the kids nobody liked, and how I could see potentials that most of the world could see didn't exist, and how I could go through so many failures when the tests seemed hopeless. Well, that even came through a prayer. That hopelessness can get to you. It really can, because I was a young hippie that was going to change the world. The harder we worked, the better this world would be. And boy, were we getting the crap kicked out of us. and here it was. And early Christianity in prayer, it was getting, like a boy named Clifford tried suicide, and they put him away. And when he came back, his parents didn't know how to give his drugs. And so he was being, instead of something 4 times a day, they gave him 4 one time a day. And I'd catch him on the 4. And just what was happening to Clifford was just breaking me up. You know, I mean, he was a cool kid. I mean, he was eccentric, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being eccentric. Like in the middle of a test, a wind could blow him out of his chair. Okay, big damn deal. Well, what the society did to Clifford was just awful. And in prayer, I just, you know, it's difficult. And the answer came very simple. And that's an answer maybe many young teachers in behavior need to hear. You didn't rape any of them, Ken. Who are you to think you can unrape them? Your job is to do your best. That's it. Then sleep at night, relax. Your job, clearly, do your best. That's it. You know, who do you think you are? You know, and believe it or not, that mattered, and it mattered a lot. Who do I think I am? And it's the long view too, which I'm very good at, is the long view. You do your best, and you never know which kids are going to change because of one little thing you did. My dad's own funeral showed that. I mean, it showed it. Children that little things he did that'll never remember changed their lives. So that's a power teaching, is the little things you do every day can change your life. And if you think it's all on you to do it all, that's a neat prayer answer. Just who do you think you are? I mean, really. And so that had a lot. And so when I got changed into learning disabilities, man, it was like, there was a song at the time, Money for Nothing. I want sex for free, but you know, and that's it. The money for nothing part is what it felt like teaching reading and all to dyslexic and learning disabled kids. I mean, these kids were nice. I mean, I said something, they did it like, whoa, I'm powerful. It was wonderful. But the horror to me was all these normal kids. And clearly, if you put one of my normal kids in with 80,000, you'd spot him in 2 minutes. But these kids are absolutely and utterly normal, and they are today. You want to slack, they put all kinds of labels on them and crap. And that's why you see I'm pretty anti-labeling. These are pretty normal kids. And so my job's to teach them to read. Okay, let's give it a go. Well, gosh, they listen to you, they follow your directions. And I was taught a lot in behavior. It was a piece of cake to teach every one of them how to read. There just wasn't enough of me. And so, okay, we can fix that too, can't we? And now you're watching the theoretical history of great leaps coming from the world of behavior. These kids, there's nothing wrong with them. And I really, really despise that idea that most of our kids with reading problems, that there's something wrong with them. There ain't nothing wrong with them at all. In fact, our own nephew is, you know, labeled and all this stuff, tough time in school. He's a perfectly happy, normal adult now. Yeah, nothing wrong with him. So some of my special ed perspectives on all of this, and there was something wrong with the kids I worked with who intensely needed the best we got, you know. And so I'll advocate, we do have 1% to 2% of our children with an incredible neurologic disorder that's interfering with their reading. Yeah, they need experts. But most of our kids with reading problems are a piece of cake. And man, the world doesn't want to hear that mantra coming out of me. I didn't say all of them are a piece of cake. And I do say our well-trained professionals are a necessity. It's just when you decide to throw 20% of the American population on them, they're outnumbered. And the kids who need the help the most won't get it, because kids that I could have lunchroom ladies teaching them how to read are getting experts. If hospitals couldn't run such a way, you know, we couldn't run a hospital the way we run special ed. But anyway, that's what did it teach me? It taught me skills, incredible skills through experience that came out later, that when you're working with the toughest population you could throw at somebody and you work it a long time, when you move to a lesser handicapped population, you found out you've learned a lot about what will move that data and move it appropriately. So that's some of the history. And Tony was my one and only winner in behavior. You know, other people read and are devastated when one of their students, they find out it's on the front page. Well, my kids made the front page all the time, and it was always awful. That's the world of behavior. The world of reading is a great world because you change lives and it works, and you actually save lives. That's pretty neat. So that move that happened with me was neat.
Yeah, well, though I imagine most serious stories with students are likely not quite as quite as
Yes,
extreme as Tony's story, but
no, they're more extreme than Tony's stories.
well,
You
maybe
edited
your
them
other
out.
students,
You edited them out.
the average students, saying
No,
of our
Ken.
our
No,
other
Ken, we don't want to
educators
hear
that are
about
here.
child prostitutes. No, Ken.
Yeah, yeah. There's some other quite dark stuff, of course, and that's unfortunately just the world and pieces of it. But
God or
to
karma.
transition or to bring it to a little bit of a lighter note, I'll share my own because of, with both my dad and my grandpa having been teachers, and I kind of went the route of studying business, growing up with Great Leaps and, understanding the impact you can make through business. The first, student I really got to teach was my own niece, and doing Great Leaps with her for the past several years. So it was really interesting to me that kind of transition and getting to work with her, on a daily basis from the time basically we may have started when she was a fourth grader, and I'm still working with her now on the last, couple stories of Great Leaps as a seventh grader, and how that kind of strengthened our relationship as, family members, and getting the opportunity to provide kind of the you know skills necessary for her to be successful and for her to turn things around in school. When we had started, you could see how closed off and reserved she was. We kind of found out playing Monopoly, when we asked her to read a simple thing on a Monopoly card. That's when we kind of first really discovered her reading problems and those escape behaviors that were around her struggle with that. So it was, for me, just a really eye-opening kind of experience over these last couple of years, getting to work with her, see how she's progressed. Here, like, I asked her once what she's most proud of, and she said, in like all honesty, her growth in her reading, that she's not embarrassed anymore, and things like that. That, as a family member, I guess, is just so touching to hear. And I could only imagine, people like you all, who get to touch so many lives and make such a difference. The hopefully feeling of accomplishment that would come from that must be something that's pretty amazing. But
Well, she is true. First, she's truly dyslexic. Second, in this world, you got to put your money where your mouth is. I trust the work I did. I also trust my son. But Colin was not an educator. I trusted my son with my program, with my granddaughter, who very high IQ, above average, not very high, not Asperger high, but very high. And Colin taught her to read from 2,000 miles away. Does that make it cool or what? And that's trust. And yeah, she's not the 3-month miracle. But listen to the words as she enters at middle and later adolescence. Listen to where her pride is now. Colin, you did it.
Yeah, it definitely is a pretty great feeling. But to pass it around, did anybody have any, stories they'd like to share about students who impacted them, or just kind of the one note is to try to be sure just to use first names and, no real identifiers beyond that. But
Hi, this is Annie. I want to
Annie.
share a story about Rosie, who's in the group. She volunteered her services last summer to work on Great Leaps with her kids. The Rosie's there, and she volunteered. I trained her in Great Leaps after Mary Wing trained me, and she did it all summer with her kids. And her kids were in 4th grade and were still on a kindergarten level. And after working the 6 weeks in the summer with them, they all moved up nearly a year in services. A year in reading levels.
And I'd just like to say that one of those students was my Tony, or is my Tony.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he's had a very tough background, but and came to me as a student that just couldn't handle the volatility of his own emotions. Today he asked me, which I'm so proud of him.
Okay,
He
yeah.
said, "Can I speak to you outside the classroom for a second?" I said, "Of course you can." And he asked, could he move his seat because he was getting distracted where he was sitting. So just a child that would have thrown a desk at me last year, this is where he's at this year. But I know that it's the belief in him that he now actually, he believes me, that there's a reason why we're going to keep pushing this, and it's using Great Leaps. And you know, like, we're really trying to target stuff, because you can move, you can absolutely move. It's up to you to work with me to work with you, and us to use the right tools, and everything is an information getting session in order to get better at the next thing. And he understands it's a process. But all of the kids, honestly, Annie has trained me. Yes, she brought it to the school, but it's that belief that the kids are worthy of trying this, and let's work together, see how it goes. And it's somebody taking a chance on them.
Do you know that success, like what you said, success breeds success? But in counseling, you can tell your boy how great he is all you want, but when it actually happens is where counseling matters. And now you are believed and trusted, and I would bet you're incredibly powerful in this boy's life.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
Siri's trying to talk to me. But
I recognize that voice.
Yeah, Siri's won't be quiet. She must be Irish. That's all I can say. But yeah, he trusts now that he is worthy, and he also sees the great leaps that he's making. So now it's easier for him to risk putting himself out there. And that's not to, like, you know, I'm focusing on him, but that's the same with all of them for their different reasons. I have another child, and it was his father that came on the phone to me and was like almost tearful, this tough, rugged guy, because his son was doing so well, because you could hear that his son was like, oh, and that's, you know, that moment. And it was, so the child had a wonderful moment, but so did the dad, you know, because we were working over the summer and we were working remotely as well. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's heartwarming. I mean, any student, like with Great Leaps or not even, you know, just hearing those kind of powerful comeback stories. They're not even young enough or old enough to come back necessarily, but just redemption in that way of like, they get it, they have that breakthrough, that light bulb goes off. Yeah, what a wonderful thing.
There was no Great Leaps with Tony, but I think, Rosie, you've got it down on who we are and what we are as teachers, not professors and lecturers and stuff, but who we are as frontline teachers. And to me, that differentiates us from most of the world. And then I'm not denigrating professors, because of Cecil Mercer and many other incredible doctors I know out there. But what's made all of them great, they keep working with real kids. They're kept alive, not through abstract thinking and reading the latest book, but on what happened with Tony. You can find teachers always talk about their kids, don't they? You know, and if someone tells me they're a teacher and I don't hear them talking about kids, I quickly wonder, is this a teacher I'm talking to, or an administrator, up and coming administrator? Oh, there I go again. My dad taught me that bad habit, saying you can't grow higher. You can't be higher or more respected. I have more respect than to be a classroom teacher. So yeah, I give administrators hell. Maybe too much.
What I like about the
I apologize.
But what I love about the Great Leaps program is it's a practical intervention for teachers, because when I came out of school, Annie and I have talked about this, I may have done courses, but I don't feel like I was taught how to recognize certain reading difficulties. I was taught a lot of theory, but not anything in practice. And that's what I love about Great Leaps is, right, here's this practice that you can do, and I can see rewards. Never mind the kids, I can. you know.
This did not come from the world of research. It came from the world of behavior. And when I hit my first children that could not read, I had to do a task analysis. What do they need? How do I give it? How do I get the growth? What steps do I need? It's all behavior thinking. I never took a course in reading. The only courses I took in reading were like whole language stuff where they'd tell you that Rocking Horse Winter is a great story. And, and got great story, but I didn't learn anything about the teaching of reading until you threw me a behaviorally disordered first grader who didn't know his ABCs. I had to use task analysis. Okay, here's the problem. How do I solve it? How do we arrange this? And that's our very origins. Is I'm not handicapped by the thoughts of the intellectual thoughts of the field because I'm from another field. We had our own enemies in the field of behavior, Freudians, but in this world, I had no idea a whole language existed. I had no idea anybody could imagine there was no need for phonics. I mean, that's just was not in my behavioral world that I was being radical. And those were whole language times. Man, I got hell when I first started bringing this out. I mean, hell. Now I'll start getting it from the other side, but that's all right. I'm used to it now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, to keep the ball kind of passing around, were there any other student stories that anyone wanted to share with us?
I want to share a story. It was like my best story ever. So the other day I was teaching a child online and the mother was in the background making the bed. And I was watching her sort of, because you know the parents watching you.
Yeah.
Making the bed and the child's reading the story. And it's the Brianna and Tina story. And she's making the bed and all of a sudden she stops. And I watch her and the kid keeps reading and she just stops and she watches the child. And then she runs over when he's finished reading the story and she hugs him and she goes, you can read.
Yeah.
He's in 4th grade. He was on a kindergarten level when I started with him in September. And she was just so shocked. Like she actually seen him doing it and he didn't realize she was watching. So it was such an emotional moment to watch her react, you know?
What do you think he felt at that very behavioral instant?
Oh my God, he beamed. He was like beaming. He's like, Mommy, I did it. You know, like it was a whole turned into a 40-minute lesson because she was so and she was just so pleased with how we did. But it was like seeing her reaction was the big thing.
See, no counselor in the entire world could give that child that magic minute. None.
Exactly.
And it's real.
That's not me. That's Great Leaps. I kept telling her it's the program.
No. Wrong. I'm the car. You're the driver. No. It is not me. I gave you a tool. Hammers don't build buildings. Hammers don't get that. You got it. And that's important on your end. You got that. I can give a complete idiotic program with a great teacher and wonderful things will happen. I can give the best of my work to an idiot teacher and they'll start punishing the kid with my program and we'll go backwards. So, it ain't the program. Listen to my southernness. It ain't the program. It's the driver. I'm the toolbox there. And we'll talk about tools a lot. I provide tools, but I don't build these children you're winning with, but I use my toolbox to get those wins and we brag about them. But Annie, you got that one and that's your victory and chalk it up.
We're Irish, me and Rosie. We don't take credit.
You're Irish.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do.
You're Irish. We got to have that. And now Colin's dating a Colleen.
No, not a Tessa, but she's Irish. Yeah, her parents are.
That makes her a Colleen. No, she is a Colleen, not a name. Rosie knows what a Colleen is.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, yes, an Irish Colleen.
Rosie, did you know what a Colleen is?
Tell me.
Oh, you don't? I know the Gaelic better than you. A Colleen is the male term of Colleen. You got a Colin?
I didn't know that, and I have a nephew, Colin. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I got a son, Colin.
Yeah.
He's got a good girl if he's got an Irish girl. Isn't that right, Annie? Back me up.
Can she handle her liquor? That's my word.
Anyway, getting back on track here.
This is happy hour. Happy hour can go anywhere it wants to.
Yeah. I guess Yeah, Annie, wonderful story. And that I really am glad that Dad made that point, that it really is you all, the educators, the people working, with the students, meeting with them daily or however often you do that makes the impact. And, we just do our best to provide the best tools that we can to help y'all make that happen. But, you're the drivers here. So that's where we appreciate any and all feedback we get to make that tool better for all the other drivers we have out there. So thank you, for sharing and for what you've done there.
Andy, you know what it makes me feel right now? I gave you a 20, 30-year-old story, and you just gave me a right now. You're giving me right now stuff. Isn't that nothing but cool how you transcend, how through your work and our efforts in the garden and the trees we plant, that neat things keep happening. And for those of us who have been down many roads, I've made every mistake you can. Our job is to help you through what we've learned, however we learned it, to be better. Then your job is to pass it on.
You've made it so easy for us to teach kids how to read. I don't think you understand how easy you've made it for us.
I don't think.
And just to jump in there, Kenneth, just to jump in on that, is like you use the analogy of the car and we're the drivers. If you don't have the key, you can't move forward. And so I would say that Great Leaps is a key to helping us move the child forward so they can become the driver themselves. So the Great Leaps to me is the key to opening all of that up. Thank you.
Well,
we're gonna have to use some of these clips later. There's too much good stuff. It sounds like we asked you all to say this.
No, I won't. I get embarrassed at that kind of stuff. I really do. Yeah, I was well trained. I mean, I really was. And there's some giant lies out there, and I don't like them. And some of these lies are self-efficating for people to make more and more money from, and I don't like that even less. We have some good skills, and we as well-trained, loving people who love kids and want to teach, we are worthy of being adequately paid for our efforts. That isn't the thing. The thing that tends to bother me, and it's immensely bothering me right now, is that there are those saying that there is no chance for these children unless they have such and such and such a program and such training and such, and it keeps on going. And it isn't true. My mother taught me to read, and she was a waitress. High school dropout waitress. Believe me, I'm not saying anything down about that. I'm saying up about that. She taught me to read, and the school system couldn't. And I'm trying to figure out what happened, but I think a lot of it may have had to do with measles and brain damage. And the schools couldn't handle a TBI, and I'm a classic TBI. I'm just good at what you're watching right now. You got to watch the stuff I'm bad at. But
we're seeing it.
It is there. I compensate with language. I think I've got higher. I'm a 60-point IQ split, so I am special ed, but got no accommodations in my life. Maybe this makes me think, maybe that made me stronger. That is not traditional thinking. I don't believe I need experts working with my children when we have 100,000 kids needing help. What I need is caring people who can read, and I'll give you the tool, but man, you are building the building. But we've got to stop the lie, and the lie is that only one thing will work, and it takes forever, and it takes incredible amounts of, well, no, it damn doesn't. It will. We're not surgeons, but we don't do surgeries for headaches. And there's a lot more headaches than there are brain tumors.
Yeah.
So no, Great Leaps is not for brain tumors.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got time for one more story here if anyone else would like to share.
Hi, Colin. It's Deirdre. I would like to share something.
Wonderful.
I have a young lady that I just started with, and Ken's familiar with this one because I wrote to him about her. Her name is London, and she's 6 years old. And over the past 2 years, she's lost both her mother and her father.
Here we go.
And so she's living with her grandmother, and her grandmother is doing her very best. The trifecta on this one is that she's very, very badly asthmatic. So she's not able to go to the classrooms, even when they have the days where the kids are actually coming in to have, active engagement with the teacher and the other kids. So she's really emotionally just a mess at the age of 6 and dangerously close to being a dropout at 6. And I've seen this happen several times, kids being dropouts at 6 years old, and they never really recover. So because somebody from the school district got in touch with me because they know how I am about special cases. And they asked if I would talk to the grandmother, and the grandmother explained we'd have to do it remotely. And I said, well, let's do the Great Leaps with her. And you know what? I know you guys have a lot of research. I know Lisa has done a great deal of work about collecting research, and you guys having the tools on the system to amass a great deal of research on how successful the program is. And I have to kind of be a little sad in the fact that there's nothing there, that there's no research that shows the difference in affect on a child when they finally start to feel like they can do something. And so as time, I've been with her a very short amount of time, it's just a couple of weeks, and I have seen her go from fidgeting and messing around and jumping around and trying to drink, and to gradually, step by step, getting more and more confident in herself and her abilities. And I just think, wow, I mean, here's one little pocket of her life that may actually give her a foothold. So, I often think that it might not be such a bad idea to, the kids will tell you, as Ken, as you know, and any teacher out there, the kids will tell you whether or not you're doing a good job. And I just think it's not such a bad idea to put together some kind of a survey monkey to have the kids and come up with some really, really solid questions to have the kids respond on how they're doing with the program and what their feeling is about the program in their journey. Because people need to know, yes.
In coupling off of this, I think we need to go with videos.
Yeah.
The power of a video is, we read. You can read that a child jumped 3 years, that an inner city kid from Atlanta, but moved from a 2nd grade reading to 5th grade reading. Well, that's so significant, but reading is so flat. But when you see this kid, man, the kid's got muscles. This kid can shave. When you got a picture of a before.
I see that in the penitentiary with the kids I was using it with. Yeah. Go ahead.
When you got that before and that after, it's huge.
Yeah. The only problem is that knowing the mindset of, for those of you that work in the city, knowing the mindset of the people that drive the system, they're very into data, the data on things. So to have some kind of a tool where you actually are seeing, some bar graphs, so to speak, it really goes a long way.
You're going to love where we're going. And I might be crazy, but I want to pay for the programmers to have every kid that's doing Great Leaps now, their data.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Be a running record on that you can watch happen.
That would be
awesome. Not 100 kids, 5,000 kids. See, the data pictures are all looking the same. I don't care if it's an American Indian group in Ontario, or if it's inner city kids at a rich, big rich school in Manhattan, or you can go deep into the Bronx, or we can go into the bayous, or we can go into lobster people from Maine. The data of
lobster
all
people.
Of our children. Well, I didn't want to say lobster men, because there's lobster women now. I can't even talk anymore because of these times.
Yeah, I know. You got to be careful what you say.
No, you don't. You got to be careful who hears. You got to be careful of who hears it.
That's true too.
It's unbelievable. But we can transcend that because we're all here about children, and every children. Here again, I go religious, and I'm not trying to convert anybody, but in my world, every single child is made in the very image of God, and is that very, very much important, incredible. Beyond me, beyond whatever I could ever think of being, but it's that important. And so I did the lowest of the lows. And from that, boy, have I been honored. I mean, honestly honored.
That's it. It's like you just watch them, and it puts a feeling in my heart, pretty much very, very close to when you have your child. When you have your first child, you get that feeling in your heart, this joy. And because that maybe this will give them their foothold into the world. And
You're
she's
doing your
already
best.
had more tragedy than she can deal with.
She's only 6, right?
Yeah,
Keep up
6
with her with me, because that is
I
my
will.
entire background. And Great Leaps is not her answer at this point. I would take a look. Do you have a copy of my language growth book?
I do. I think I do. I think
If-
Mary gave me a copy of it.
If you don't, we'll send it to you. But her key isn't going to be in Great Leaps Now with you. My gut feeling, it's going to be in establishing the relationship, and you
Right.
and she in language. I want you to sing with her. I want her to have the ability to get outside of self with happy things.
That would be good.
Yeah,
That
that's
would-
good. That's a very, and that's an easy goal. And when you're doing it right, they don't know what's happening. That's the real power of it all. When you're doing it right, they don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I
And-
think right now we're in the trust building
Yes.
stage, and now she's really starting to trust me, which was a big hurdle.
Success
Because
built.
she's seeing the teachers all day long,
Mhm.
She's encountering failure all day long, and much of it's subtle, that's
Absolutely.
unrecognized in the system. Subtle,
Yeah.
subtle punishers, man. It's difficult being a behavior person and watching the blindness of the system. A little girl in the lunchroom line at Bronson Elementary School, suddenly, she's a 5th grader and she's coming into womanhood, but yet she's wearing a see-through shirt.
Don't even get
Man.
me started.
Well, it appears the only males in their entire world beside the kids are me, the janitor, and the principal. But I'm sitting there and wait, what's this topless girl doing in the lunchroom line? I mean, she's been here all day. It's lunch. You've been here all day. Nobody sees this girl's half naked. Me, am I the only one that sees this? And I don't. It's not inappropriate. I mean, for her, it's inappropriate. This is inappropriate. Why didn't anybody see it? Are they blind? And so see, this is our intuition working. When I saw that, check into it, get to a counselor, that little girl's been actively abused.
Right.
And how can the world be blind? It's right there in front of them. But
Yeah.
as you mentioned on research, Deidre, I can't make them research. I will not pay for the research to be done
Mhm.
because that is a violation of my code of ethics.
Well,
Our
I
code
want
of ethics.
to mention, I love that idea though of a before after sort of metric, or on 1 to 5, how do you feel about your
Just
reading?
a quick survey
know.
monkey. I always thought it was very, very effective. I used to use it all the time, especially with the kids, because it's a quick read and you get those results right away, and they do all the work for you. You really don't have to do anything.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
just
I love
coming up
that.
with maybe 5
Deidre.
questions. Yeah,
Would you work with Colin on this?
absolutely.
Well,
I think
I'll throw some ideas your way and get some feedback. But I really appreciate you putting that idea out there. I think that is a great way to kind of, as you said, put some sort of quantifiable measure on like an otherwise very, I don't know, kind of magical moment or like emotional thing.
Yeah, it really is it's a great tool that's very, very efficient. It's very inexpensive. And you can do one for the kids and one for their parents. And then you get, like a crosshatch of information that
Yeah.
really is quite valuable.
That's great.
If I could jump in on that, and Annie,
Yeah.
I volunteer you too. I'd love to do that in our school, so it'd be nice to do it in a public school as well. And what I would do is use a Google form, because they're getting more used to that now. So just how do you feel about reading? What's your because I love that idea, Deirdre.
Yeah, it's a quick way for kids to articulate their success without putting too much strain on them.
Mm-hmm.
What is
I love
cool?
that.
What is cool? This is what the happy hour kind of should be about. Is notice idea. We begin moving into idea formulation, and then we're able to, as a group, be able to make ideas happen, and grow powerfully that way from the front lines, from realities, not from removed high. What do you call that?
Not only that, but just keeping it simple. That's what I love about this program. The simpler, the better. I'm all about the simple. Keep it as simple as possible, because you can get the same amount of information from a simple thing as you can from something, I wish I had half of the money, even a quarter of the money, an eighth of the money that this state's wastes on program across the board, every kind of reading program. And we could provide Great Leaps across the country for free.
Deirdre, there's a paradigm of decision making that I can never figure out and probably will never figure out in my life. But it's a paradigm that, in my opinion, is not related to child performance, and it may be related to the egos or whatever of the people making the decisions.
Absolutely, and the pocketbooks of the people that are in the publishing business.
But as you watch, and Mary has watched this, and so we're not naming names and will refuse to, but she's certainly watched things that have no impact at all on student performance, and yet,
absolutely.
But everybody claps like walruses and stuff at such knowledge, and yeah, it's erudite. It sounds unbelievably good, but it isn't doing anything.
Absolutely not doing. But you know what? All things, we don't, like you said, you don't do it for the recognition. You do it because you all know it's like this. We have like this subversive little group that's got it. We've got it. We know what works. And so you just have to keep driving that wheel, because eventually somebody that's in those upper echelons will see the wisdom and the clarity of the program.
It has happened. Mary Wing is a great example of that.
Mary Wings,
that's been Mary for us.
And I'll also throw in, listen to my New York talk. You're going to think I'm a Yankee fan. Eileen Mazzola.
Me and Mary Wing started together. What year was it with Great Leaps that we spent our entire summer in the schools?
Well, Mary, I had to give Mary some counseling the other day. Mary, can I talk to my counseling with you?
Yeah, sure.
Because she was getting frustrated at all this pushing and things.
I know, she gets worked up.
And perhaps it's very frustrating in a career to be asked by higher ups to do ineffective things, perhaps, and then it not be recognized where your real home runs are being as a person, not only not recognized, not even cared. And it begins eating on you professionally. And believe me, I know that professionally. Absolutely. The whole world never sees things through my eyes. But that bad feeling needs to be replaced with the good feeling of accomplishment on what really matters. Whatever a damned administrator thinks, here I go cussing again about them, and that comes from my dad, but whatever that administrator thinks toward you and your work, you're not going to find that on Judgment Day. You're going to find
exactly
what did you do with the talents you had. Clearly, it's the kids, not your bosses. I can always go get another boss, and young teachers, it's tough for them to hear this. Get off the Titanic. I know it's comfortable, teachers who have chosen a school that's nearby. Right. I know you got all the stuff you need, but you're going to sink. Get on the crusty old tug with the captain who knows what the hell he's doing. Go there. The best of my career learning has happened in the toughest schools with a huge caveat. Great principals, great leadership. Great leadership allows you to not only teach, it allows you to fail. That freedom to fail gives me the freedom to win. Not every shot is going to be a bullseye, but if I don't throw the dart, I hit none.
Well, when my book is finished, you're going to get one of the first copies, because there's a couple of chapters in there you're going to read, and it's going to make you so happy. You're going to say, finally, somebody said it. Yeah.
Well, where I should be right now at this very minute is New York City. Yeah. We should be, instead of studying my PowerPoint, Mary, I'll blame you. Instead of studying my PowerPoint, it is Friday at 4:56. At this very minute, we'd be ordering another dozen oysters. And should we have red wine or white wine with that, Mary? And I'm supposed to be studying. Man, I got to talk tomorrow at 3:30. 3:30, you can sleep late. and and it's a magic. And I want Rosie and Annie's gone for now. I want you guys to join us as next year in New York City. Hopefully Colin will be there, and I'll come 4, 5, 6 times a year until health won't let me. Because where you are, in New York City especially, is where the rubber meets the road. I have really met professionals there who give a damn about kids. Of course, I meet idiots. They're easy to find, real easy to find. But I found people who care. Now, trying to form our caring into working relationships under adversity is where we're at, and where as a team we'll be better. But if we retain our focus on getting better, it's not just me, obviously. There's things we can share with each other and learning. Behavior has been let out in all of your world. Nobody is being trained in real behavior. It makes no sense. Well, we can do that in these little meetings here.
Yeah. And
it'd be easy. Hey, I got to give a question, don't I, Colin?
Yeah, I was gonna say on that, we're getting towards the end of our time, and I think I'm sure we'll do this again in the future and just give everybody a platform to share these stories, because I really enjoyed it, and thought it was, I don't know, it's just eye-opening as somebody that's not a teacher and directly in there to hear these different stories and things. But yeah, Dad, I guess if we want to go through our dumb trivia before we sign off here. We have, it'll be this upcoming time. It's now up to a $75 steak.
It ain't going to get no higher.
Yeah, if you want to set it up, and then we'll give the first hint and now the second hint. But yeah, if you want to set up the original.
Well, the first one, we've already done the second one too. You can't wear this mistake in public, right? Not even in Vienna.
I'm not sure what hint we're on now.
No, day one was you can't wear this mistake in public, not even in Vienna.
Yeah.
And he couldn't be here now, but the best guess was, man, I guess on the invention of Danishes and stuff.
Anthony, yeah, that was a really interesting guess.
I mean, that was a great guess, but not, sorry. You missed it.
What was this guess?
It had to do with the guy who invented the Danish was a mistake. But you don't wear Danishes, I don't think, And I'm sure I could probably find it on the internet, but I don't see anybody wearing Danishes. So you just can't wear this mistake at all. And yeah, you can't wear a Danish, you're right, but it didn't answer my answer. And I forgot what my second one was.
I got it here. It was, yours was, I can make this and I can't even sew, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
we've all made one of these before in our lifetime.
Yeah, this is something you can't, this is a mistake you can't even wear. And I can do this and I can't even sew. Well, man, this is a faux pas. Oh, I can use my French. Usually in the South, French is cussing. Excuse my French, but faux pas. This is a faux pas. Man, I've often done. Oh man, I've done it so much. It's got me so much trouble, man. I've got to sit on the couch and have a piece of therapy here for all the mistakes I've made with this thing I cannot wear. All right, man, that's a whole ton.
Yeah, so I'll type it out too in a follow-up email. It's sometimes easier to sit and read the hints and stuff, and it'll all make sense if somebody gets it, or if we put it out there. If
you don't, I get to go buy another expensive bottle of single malt, right?
Yeah, the usual rule, I suppose.
But you got, 5 o'clock it's perfectly fine, like any happy hour to go when you got to go. But does anybody have any parting words or comments? I don't have to go right now.
I just wanted to say thank you very much for responding to me so quickly. And I know about London. I know it's going to mean a lot to her.
Every child matters, and we can't save them all because there's only one of us, but that's one I can be a little piece in. Hey,
I
Ashley,
appreciate it.
welcome to us late here.
Oh, she was.
Yeah, I logged on a little late. I'm hanging out in my car right now, coming
You're
to you
dressed-
live from my Ford EcoSport.
Yeah, my God, you're dressed like it's freezing ass cold.
Yeah, it's a little chilly here today.
Actually,
Yeah.
I get to give a talk tomorrow at 3:30 on Everyone Reading, but we're going to get that recorded. And if I'm any good, that's the big worry that I always have, is I'm a gunslinger. I don't give speeches that are memorized. And I'm just going to do my best. And if we record it, it's going to be good. And if I screw up, well, it's another lessons. But I hope it's good. And it's on word and world knowledge. And talks we all need to have, especially experienced teachers. You know, the Kens and Marys of the world need to deal with and help the Rosies and Ashleys and Collins of the world. So first of all, you don't get in all the trouble I got in my life of teaching. And what's really neat about what we did at this happy hour, to me, is eminently neat, is the sharing amongst professionals that goes on. The doing away with the formalities of going into deep theory sometime, but safely going into deep theories and trusting everyone around you. We're doing a lot of that. And in a world that, quite frankly, is often adversarial at present. And if you can catch the tapes, Ashley, some of this in today really had to do with our focus on the child instead of on the philosophy. Our focus on the realities and on just the importance, incredible. Like I said, each one of these children is made in the image of God.
I think she was there for most of it.
You got that?
Yeah, I did. I missed the first. Hold on, I have to turn my car back on before I lose Wi-Fi.
Before you freeze to damn death.
Yeah, or I freeze. Yeah, I did. I missed. I was in the middle of a session with one of my kids, so I came on as soon as we were done because I didn't want to miss this happy hour. But I'll be sure to go back and rewatch from the beginning for sure.
I like this because of the comfort level, Joan, even though I dominate again more than I want to. I don't want to dominate this much. But you start talking about kids and all, and I'm a teacher, and it's happy hour. Come on, guys, you can crank in too. It's only fair. What
Yeah.
should we talk about in 2 weeks?
I don't know. Well, Sin, as always, our inboxes are open. Always open to the ideas and things. I'm gonna have to pull off here and stop the recording on my end. But yeah, I mean, we'll hopefully plan something good again. I do want to. I thought having guests was really fun. Talking with Anthony, I do. If you all have recommendations or any of you want to talk on something, just let us know, and we'd love to have you and kind of focus in on your story or something that you'd like to share. Maybe Mary will feature you from the administrative standpoint. I don't think we've kind of heard
Sure.
and dialed into that.
I'm
in
so
an
proud of
episode here.
Ashley and Rosie and Annie and
I
Jess.
love you, Mary. You
Oh.
are the reason why I am even here. If it wasn't for you bringing this to my school, I'm forever grateful for you.
Oh,
I really am.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. It's
Ashley, you went
interesting.
to 2 trainings.
Interesting. When I was training Anthony and 30 other teachers, he was the one that was sitting in the second row and rolling his eyes. And I said to myself, I'm going to get him. Somehow or other, I'm going to reach him. So when I spoke to him recently, he said he was rolling his eyes because he knew the program, or he thought he knew the program until he was at my training. And then it was a totally different program. Right, Ashley?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mary. I have been to your training and
Ashley came to 2 of my trainings.
And Mary let me lead the way on the second one.
Sure.
Rosie, I'd be interested in your leading. What does it feel like to come from Ireland into the American educational setting, and suddenly here you are sitting in front of us with you've had people from Kentucky, from Maine, from Florida, from Colorado, a giant, we'll make 20 Irelands.
Well, what I've loved always about this country, and I've been here for 30 years, and Annie probably feels a lot of this also, is Ireland, where I grew up in Northern Ireland. So it was very segregated. So Irish Catholic, you did not mix with anyone who was not an Irish Catholic. So then to come to New York, which is the melting pot of the world, and then to teach in the Bronx. And
whoa.
So
In the boogie down Bronx.
I'm in the Bronx, and I love every minute of it.
The Scottish Presbyterian is married to a French Catholic.
So if we put you in Northern Ireland, we wouldn't know what to make of you.
You'd blow it up. You'd blow it up.
I've been watching Dairy Girls a lot lately.
But look at kind of stuff. Look at the genius son we produced. But
and he's got himself an Irish woman.
But we had to become, and watch this, and we had to become Anglican.
I'm hanging
Anglican.
up.
I can talk to you about it. The Anglican Church is the only one that even knew what a Scottish and Celtic saint was.
Yeah,
then I saw the Anglican churches in the Highlands of Scotland, and all their words are in Gaelic.
And you know what's funny is, like, we sort of make up our own words. So a lot of the Scotch words and the Irish words are the same. And once you go out of Scotland and Ireland, it's like, I do not know what that person is saying. And again, take me and bring me to the Bronx. Annie, are you on still? She had a lot of kids in the Bronx. And because we said 30 and not 30,
yeah,
she had a lot of little kids running around. They were like, it's 30.
If you notice that
Sean New York kids with that's great.
Sean Connery couldn't do an NESS, for Inverness. When the S at the end of the word, it comes out to the Scottish SH. I learned my favorite Scottish-Irish word, numpty.
Numpty?
He's a numpty. An idiot. Maybe it's Glaswegian, which no one can understand. Anyone from Glasgow, even people from Glasgow, can't even understand each other. I think they do it on purpose.
Yeah, but, all right. Well, yeah.
Essence of happy hour is what we're seeing, and invite your friends. What we're trying to do is create an advocacy group of ourselves to strengthen ourselves to be better. Those of us who've done it, made every mistake you can make, are here. I didn't have that early in my career at all. I had nowhere to go. And it gets isolated sometimes. So you can feel like you're alone in the whole world. Well, now in our world, you don't have to, and we can build and get better.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks as always, everybody, for joining. It was really a great chat today. And I hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.